So once again, since our objective is to learn about the levels of organization, which we have just done, we're going to learn about the ecosystem and how biodiversity helps keep a stable environment. Once again, our essential questions written on these notes, it says, is the biodiversity in our area enough to sustain a stable ecosystem? Why or why not? So basically, we're going to answer two questions. What is an ecosystem? What is biodiversity? And after doing so, you need to be able to relate those two. Okay? So first of all, we already know what an ecosystem is. We just defined it, right? So what is an ecosystem? Layla. And everybody should be tracking. If you need to look back at what we just wrote, by all means. So can you say that a little louder, please?
An ecosystem holds biotic and abiotic features.
Okay. Orlando, could you repeat that and add to it if you can?
Anything living in the ecosystem, human population.
Okay. Layla, could you repeat your definition? Orlando's going to pay attention this time.
It holds abiotic and biotic features.
It holds a biotic and biotic.
Okay, very good. All right. Can you tell us what biotic means? Okay, very good. And abiotic? Okay, very good. Ursi, so can you describe to us again what an ecosystem is? Which means? Very good. Okay, and that's what it is. So an ecosystem is all the living and non-living things within an area. Okay, that is what an ecosystem is. Once again, you should be writing these notes. I'm not writing them for you. All right. So as we heard, an ecosystem is all the living and non-living things. Specifically, the words that we want to use are all the biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors meaning living, abiotic meaning non-living. All right. So, do all the things in an ecosystem relate to one another or need one another? Luis, do you think that in your ecosystem, do you need all the other living things being there and all the non-living things being there? Could you survive without? Yes or no? Do you think you would survive with non-living, if it was just you in an area and there's nothing else there? Could you survive? Why not? Okay. All right. So Orlando, what did you just say? Could you survive?
No.
Why not?
There'll be no food.
Okay, there'd be no food. All right. So Blake, could you repeat and add to that? Why could we not survive if all the living and non-living things were around us? Okay, food and water. So can we all agree that in an ecosystem, every single thing within an ecosystem is important to every other thing? Correct? Yeah, everything relies on everything else. So we come to our next question. What is biodiversity? Well, once again, let's look at our prefixes and so on. So what do we say bio meant?
Living.
Living. So something living. So then I look at this other word, diversity. Well, if I take the itty out, diverse. Okay, different. Give me some other words for diverse. Different. What else? Not the same. All right. Huh? Separate.
Divide.
Okay. Diverse. Yeah, you would. They're divided. Okay. So if you have a very diverse culture.
It's like different cultures.
Different culture. Okay. Now, when you say different culture, are there many different things within your culture, or is it just very different from anything else?
Like Chinese people, Indian people, black people, white people.
Okay. So, meaning there's a bunch of different types, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you are, like, the United States is very diverse. I mean, it's very multicultural. There are a lot of cultures within the United States because people came here to work and brought their culture along with them, right? So, biodiversity basically means diverse, many different forms of living things. Very good. So, when we talk about biodiversity, we're talking about many different types of living things within an area. So when we think of the word biodiversity, we're looking at many different types of living things within an area. Now, our essential question is biodiversity in our area, but we just think our area, enough to sustain a stable ecosystem? So in order to answer this question, we need to realize, okay, so is biodiversity good for stability or bad?
Good.
Okay? Why do you think it's good?
Because like when you have like different type of, like if you have like different people, like, are we talking about like animals or like people?
Ecosystem, so any living thing and then non-living thing out in the.
Because like if you have different people, like they help you with different type of things, like somebody can be good with math, somebody can be good with science, everybody together, like, and, like it's like good. And then like animals, like some animals like food, plants, and then another animal likes like meat, and then like when you put it together, I don't know.
No, you're right. Other than you have to repeat everything that Sydney just said. Well, no, it wasn't enough because if you were paying attention, you could. Can you please focus? Thank you. All right. So, Sydney's answer is perfect, especially because she just related it to something that y'all really might want to pay attention to. Okay, if you think of you as students, right? Okay, so if you only hang out with people that are only good at math, that's all they're good at is math, and the only thing you're good at is math, and you needed help in
Reading.
LA, science, something else, and those are the only people you ever talk to, do you have the ability to get somebody's help?
No.
No. Now, if you're more diverse in your friends, and you have friends that are good in math, you have friends that are good in science, you have other friends that are good in LA, good in art, and you need help in something like that, now do you have a place to go and get help from?
Yes.
Yes. So having a higher diversity, just think as students, I mean, obviously not specific ecosystem, but just as students. Wouldn't that help you out as students if you had friends that were good at different things? Yeah, because you have them as a support system. So now we take that same thinking to an actual environment. So if I go outside and all I see is one type of tree, all I have in my area is one type of tree. That's it. And a virus comes in and kills all those trees. So, well, you still have grass and stuff. So, but yes, your oxygen would decrease, carbon dioxide would increase. That's perfect. But think of what those trees give us other than that.
Like
Shade, food. For animals, do they give them shelter?
like
Yeah.
they eat the leaf.
Okay,
Like
they eat the
owls.
leaves. So let's say all those trees were now gone. Is that going to affect deeply some of those other organisms that live in that area?
Yes.
Yes. So could we consider that a stable environment? Is it stable?
No.
No, because once I take that group out, it affects everybody else a lot because that was the only thing that was there. Now, let's say I have a forest that has pine trees and I have shrubs and I have a bunch of different types of trees and shrubs and so on. So there's a lot of areas where you can find shelter, okay? And a virus comes in and only kills off one type of tree. So that one type of tree is completely gone. Are there still some out there that can provide shelter and food and shade and all that?
Yeah.
Yes. So because I have a higher biodiversity, I have more different types of organisms. Is that going to help my ecosystem remain stable?
Yes.
Yes. So what we need to realize is that if we have a high biodiversity, our ecosystem, our environment is much more stable than if we only have one. Now we can also think about it this way. Okay, so your diet. Let's say you only eat one thing. That's all you eat is that one thing. Or one or two things. Let's say two. You only eat two things. Your diet consists of two things. It's really boring. But two things. That's it. That's all you eat is two things. If one of them goes away, is it going to be a lot harder for you to find that second thing? And that's the only thing? So is it going to be harder for you to survive if you think of yourself as an organism out there that, can't go to the store and buy it? Right? It's going to be hard. Now, if your diet consists of a whole bunch of different things and only one goes away,
You can still find food.
you're still going to be able to find food. So what you need to realize is that diversity, be it diversity in diet, diversity in shelter, your habitat is diverse, meaning you can deal with a lot of different things, you're going to be much more stable, right? Ecosystem is the same way. If you have a lot of different types of organisms out there, and something happens to one of them, there's other things out there to help the stability. Alright? So, you need to make sure you understand the ecosystem is the living and all them things, and they need each other. Okay? With biodiversity, the more biodiversity you have within an area, the more stable it is. Now, does that mean that just because you have a bunch of different things, nothing's ever going to go wrong?
No.
If you have a volcano that literally kills everything in the area, then your ecosystem is gone. Okay? You have a drought that lasts for years, your ecosystem is going to be gone. Now, let's say you have a drought that only lasts a few months, is your ecosystem going to come back fairly quickly? Yes. So when we talk about biodiversity, you have to really think about different things. Okay, first of all, how diverse is it? If there's a lot, then there's an increased chance of stability. But also, what's going to come in and change the stability? Is it a long-term or a short-term effect? Which we'll start talking about that next week. Okay? So, any questions over either of those? Okay, so our activity is, we are going to go outside, and you are going to list biotic and abiotic factors that you see out in our back area over here. Okay? Now, since we are trying to think of biodiversity, when you look at biotic things, living things, I want you to really kind of think about amount. Okay, so you go outside and this is what you're going to rock. Trees. Okay?
Grass.
But how many different types of trees do you see out there? Now, you're probably not going to be able to name them. I couldn't name them either. I'm not very good at botany. But you can tell if there's 3 different types of trees or 4 different types of trees or 5 different, right? You can tell that just by looking at it. So you're going to write, if you say trees, you write trees, and then in parentheses, about how many different types do you see? Okay? Grass. There's not just one type of grass out there. No. Okay? Go out and look. Look at the little leaves. If the leaves look different, it's a different type of grass. Correct? You can't just put plants. Once again, there's a bunch of different types. So just kind of see how many you see, and you put that in parentheses. Okay? Abiotic factors, non-living things that you see out there, or that you know are out there. You might not be able to see it, but you know it's out there because you can breathe it. Okay? You list those. So, any questions on what we're doing? Okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, so everybody get up, start heading back out.
E-I-R-T.